Welcome to this session of mindfulness and compassion practice. What we'll do today is mindfulness of body, in which we do grounding, the quality of scanning for unnecessary tension and letting that flow down and out of us, and then moving our minds deeper into our body, and then feeling our body sinking into the earth and getting really grounded. Then we move to mindfulness of breathing. We'll do that in two different ways. First, the internal sensation, the mindfulness of breathing in the feeling of filling and emptying as the breath comes in and out, so that it's called close placement in the tradition, so that our mind is held very close to us. When we're training our mind, like training a new puppy, we don't just let it run in the yard and hope that it comes when we call. We want to keep it close to us, and when it starts to wander, pull it back. So we have a focus that is much closer, this internal sensation. You can't get any closer than the internal sensation. And then from there we work with the out breath of more environmental, mixing our mind with the space that we're in, riding the breath, using the medium of the breath to go out with that. From there, we'll explore sense perceptions. And I think we'll do that somewhat briefly because I want to leave time for the compassion practice, especially given the amazing amount of pain and suffering happening in the world today. And although it's very much in the forefront with Ukraine, there are similar war-torn situations in Syria and Sudan and many places in the world that have just been going on for so long, we're not paying as much attention to them. And in some of those, it's not as connected as we feel to Europe, which is unfortunate. It would be good to connect to people everywhere in the world. And I want to take a slightly different approach when we do the compassion practice. The compassion practice we do is visualize and imagine and feel as much as we can that we're taking away from others their suffering and then extending out to them and replacing it, giving them happiness. So we're taking their suffering and sending them happiness. But there's a subtler way of approaching this, and that is for the people who are causing the suffering, the aggressors in all of these situations. It is rooted in hatred, anger, fear, but even more fundamentally, ignorance and confusion. So if we could take the ignorance and confusion, the hatred and anger from those people, if we could take that from them and send them, replace it with wisdom and compassion, caring and kindness, the source of all the pain and suffering that this war and violence and aggression causes would be undercut completely. So it's a different approach to actually work with the aggressors rather than those who are receiving the aggression and suffering because of it. So we want to work with both. That's the overview for today. So to begin, take a good posture. We're working with mindfulness of body to start with. You can let your eyes gently close and feel your back extending upward, erect but not rigid, especially the back of your head kind of extending slightly upward, and your chin comes in naturally. So this is really sitting up to pay attention. The image is to have a firm back and a soft front. We're breathing only in through our nose, if possible. Breathing out mainly through our nose. If some comes out our mouth, that's okay. So for your lips, we don't want our jaw clenched, but we don't want it hanging open either. So just lips slightly parted or lightly, very lightly touching. Shoulders, we don't want curled forward or pulled back. So let your arms hang straight down from your sides so that your upper arms are vertical. Leave your elbows where they are and swivel your hands so that they come up palm down on your thighs, a bit behind your knees. That way you're not reaching forward and pulling your shoulders, rounding your shoulders, or pulling back and feeling like your shoulders are squeezed back. Very neutral posture so that we can feel the body. Feel your sit bones pressing into the seat. And your feet can be flat on the floor, about hip width apart, or gently crossed in front of you, loosely. Some people try to go into the full lotus posture, and if you can, it's okay, but sometimes you can hurt your knees that way. So let's make it gently crossed in front of you. Turn your awareness to the top of your head. And using your awareness, scan down and be aware of any tension that you're holding. Excuse me. Any tension that you're holding that you don't need to hold your posture. There's some you need to hold that upright posture. But you don't need furrowed brows to hold your upright posture. Just let your forehead soften. Your scalp all around, eyes, cheekbones, your jaw. Sometimes there's extra tension in the jaw. You can even wiggle it a little bit just to let it soften, and then come back to your lips just slightly touching or slightly parted. Neck and shoulders. Sometimes we're holding our shoulders up and don't realize it. Just let them fall without pushing down. Just let them fall and hang there. It's like our spine is a tent pole. We don't have the tent pegs in, stretching that canvas out. It's just, the rest of our body is just hanging from that tent pole. Shoulders, upper arms, chest and upper back. Rib cage all around. Solar plexus. Stomach, deep belly, and lower back. Sometimes we have more tension in our deep belly and our pelvis than we realize. It can be a little challenging, but maintain the upright posture and soften your deep belly at the same time. Everything hanging from that tent pole of your spine. Hips and pelvis, forearms, hands, thighs, hamstrings. Sometimes we're using the muscles in our upper legs to hold our posture. Only use enough to keep that posture. Let the rest soften. Knees, calves, and shins, ankles, and feet. Take one full breath in and slowly breathe out and just let everything sweep out from the top of your head all the way down and out. Now we want mindfulness of our body, that our mind, our awareness is more in our body. Usually it feels like we're in our head and our mind is like the top of a lighthouse looking out around. Let your mind drift back and down, like your mind is falling back and down and just drifting down behind your throat, behind your chest, slowly settling down like a leaf to the bottom of a pond, behind your solar plexus, stomach, navel, resting down a few inches below your navel, just in front of your spine, deep in the core of your torso. It's quiet down there, like the bottom of a pond, with just gentle movement of your body as the breath comes in and out, like gentle eddies or currents at the bottom of that pond. And with each out-breath, feel yourself sink down. Instead of perching on your seat, really sink into the seat. Breathe out and sink down. Breathe out and sink down further, imagining that you're sinking down and merging with the earth. Feel like you're part of the earth, but your nice upright posture extending upward, majestically like a mountain. Be aware of your breath coming and going. Your body breathes itself. You don't need to control your breathing. So be an observer, noticing your breath coming and going like the wind. And imagine that your mind is as vast as the sky, wide open to whatever appearances arise in the big sky of your mind. They come and go like birds flying across the sky, leaving no trace. Body like a mountain, breath like the wind, mind like the sky. And from that, let your eyes gently open about halfway, looking downward under your eyelids at about a diagonal angle. And if you're looking at your keyboard or something like that, you can turn to the side so that there's a little bit of space in front of you. And we're focusing on just that bit of space around us that we're sitting in. Aware of our posture, our body sitting in the space, and feeling our body fill with air as you breathe in, feeling your body empty out as you exhale or breathe out. Filling as you breathe in, emptying as you breathe out, with awareness of your posture sitting in the space. We'll do that for a couple of minutes. At some point, a thought may arise in your mind, leading to another thought and another, and take your mind away in a daydream. When you realize it, you've woken up, you're already back. Smile with a sense of humor because the mind does wander. Return your attention to your body and the breathing sensation of filling and emptying. And now, just let go of the practice, relax for a moment. In the tradition, it's often said it's good to do multiple short sessions rather than try to just stay and stay and stay for a long, long time. So we do a short session and then refresh our posture. So come back to refresh your posture. Raise your gaze to look more straight ahead. Again, if you're looking at your device, you can turn a little to the side and look out to see the space in the room. Wherever your eyes rest, don't hold on to that spot, but just soften your gaze. Open up to the space that you're in. We continue with mindfulness of breathing, but mix it with mindfulness of mind so that we take a little more interest in the out-breath than the in-breath. As the breath goes out, imagine that you and your self-consciousness, your feeling of who you are, goes out with the breath. And as the breath dissolves into the environment, into the atmosphere, because your breath goes out and becomes part of the space in the room, as the breath goes out, go out with it. Mix your mind with the breath, become one with the breath, and as it dissolves into the space, let your mind dissolve and open up into the space. Let that feeling of holding on to me-ness dissolve. Let go and let your mind be as big as the space. Then there's a gap as the breath comes in, and ride the breath out again. Out, dissolve, rest. Out, dissolve, rest in that space. Out, dissolve, rest. We'll do that for a couple of minutes. There's no need to force the out-breath. Be very gentle with it. Just feel it going out. Imagine that you're going out with that breath. Dissolve and rest as the breath comes back in by itself. Again, if you find yourself drifting off into a daydream, when you realize it, you've already woken from that daydream. Just smile. You can think that was wandering. And pick up the next out breath. Just wait. Pick up the next out breath. Go out. Dissolve and rest. Good. And relax. Let go of the visualizations. Feel your body sitting on your seat. Move a little if you've gotten stiff. Now, after that break, resume your good posture. Looking out straight ahead. Soft gaze, open up to your peripheral vision. Open up to your peripheral hearing, listening, open to sounds in all directions, near and far. Open up to feeling your body sitting in the space. Open up to your mind and thoughts that appear. We perceive our thoughts the same way we perceive sounds, sights, feelings. Smells and tastes are included, all 6 kinds of perception. Perceiving thoughts is that 6th sense perception, the mental sense. Now we let our mind wander in the present moment, because perceptions are always happening in the present moment. Let your mind wander and rest on whatever sense perception comes to the forefront. If you're seeing, see colors, shapes, and shades of light and dark. Hearing sounds near and far, loud and soft, high and low pitch. The variety of bodily sensations. The quality of your thoughts. When another perception comes to the forefront, just move to that. You might find a label occurring in your mind. That's no problem, just no need to add commentary to it. Colors, shapes, shades of light and dark. Sounds, bodily sensations, thoughts. Smells and tastes. Let your mind wander among the sense perceptions in the present. We'll do that for a couple of minutes. Good. Now, relax. Refresh yourself. We're going to go to compassion practice. And in this practice, it's a little different. We actually are visualizing. And we start with a flash of openness, which represents our interdependence, our not separateness. We feel like our body is a separate, independent thing, and then there's this and that. There's inside and outside. But as we know through the breath, we're breathing in part of the environment, and it becomes part of us. We breathe out, and part of us goes out and becomes part of the environment. And if we looked microscopically, we'd see our skin was breathing as well. So we're not as such a discrete entity. And certainly our minds mix with others' minds in our communication, in our feelings. The nature of mind is both clarity of being able to know and cognize, but also its nature is to feel. So we can feel empathy, sympathy, empathy, and compassion. We can, to some extent, put ourselves in others' shoes so that we're not so separate. So the first thing we do in this practice is just have a flash of that kind of openness. There's no separate this over here, no separate that over there. No battle between them. And out of that openness arises a feeling of compassion, that we're all in this together, of being. Compassion means feeling with others. And we start with compassion for ourselves. You can do this with your eyes open or closed, whichever you prefer. But imagine that you're not quite as solid as you usually feel you are. If we understand matter and energy, think of yourself more as energy. And within that energy, at your heart center, which is the center of your body at heart level, imagine, also made of light, of energy, a beautiful clear crystal of any shape you desire. It's a crystal made of light that represents that nature of your mind, of light or wisdom, but also kindness. And that nature of mind has the capacity to absorb negativity and radiate out positive energy. So we begin with ourselves and bring to mind negative feelings you have about yourself, discomfort you have, physical discomfort you have about being in your own skin, so to speak. Things about yourself that you're not pleased with, about how you act, speak, or think. These are all the product of habitual patterns. They're not you, they're what you do. They're not your nature, they're your habits. So they are changeable. As you breathe in, gather from all aspects of your being, body and mind, any of these negative feelings and gather that into the crystal in your heart center. They transform instantly, and as you breathe out, radiate to yourself the cool moonlight. The crystal radiates out and fills your being with the cool moonlight of kindness, replacing the negative energies with their positive opposites. Breathe in guilt, shame, or blame. Breathe out forgiveness, kindness, and acceptance. Breathe in anxiety. Breathe out ease. Breathe in fear. Breathe out courage. Absorb as you breathe in all the negativity into the crystal in your heart. Radiate out the cool moonlight of kindness that fills your being so that you are filled with forgiveness, filled with contentment, filled with acceptance. Breathe in any illness. Breathe out that you feel filled with healthiness. Breathe in pain and breathe out to yourself relief. In whatever form they take, breathe in suffering, struggle, and illness. Breathe out happiness, peace, and health. And now, feeling that you can do that for yourself inspires you to want to do it for your loved ones. Imagine them in front of you, family and friends, the people you care about most. They also have struggle and suffering. Knowing what they're going through, as you breathe in, imagine that you take it away from them. Take away the struggle and suffering, the illness, into the crystal in your heart center. Its capacity is infinite. Breathe out and radiate out from your heart center that cool moonlight of kindness that fills their beings, filling them with peace, health, and happiness. Take their suffering and struggle, send them peace, health, and happiness. As you breathe in, take from them and gather. As you breathe out, radiate and send to them peace, health, and happiness. The nature of wisdom and compassion, that is that crystal in your heart center, your true nature, has the infinite capacity to take in and transform, and the infinite ability to radiate out, limitless radiation of peace, health, and happiness. And now expand as best you can to all beings, particularly those in the war-torn areas like Ukraine. So much unnecessary struggle and suffering, so much unnecessary fear. Imagine that you can take from them all the struggle, suffering, and fear, and radiate out peace, health, and happiness that fills all their beings. It's your peacekeeper mission. Take away the violence, struggle, and suffering. Radiate out peace, health, happiness, freedom from fear. And now, as best you can, go one step further and turn to the aggressors, the perpetrators of the violence and suffering. Take away from them their ignorance, confusion, hatred, and radiate out to them, filling their beings with wisdom and compassion. Take away their hate and fill them with kindness and caring. And immediately the aggression stops. Take away the hatred, anger, ignorance, and confusion. Breathe out kindness, caring, wisdom, and understanding. If we could do that for one person particularly, it would take away the source of so much violence and pain. And now let go of the visualization. Take a moment to recenter yourself with your breathing, feeling your body, feeling it fill and empty for 2 or 3 breaths. And to conclude our session, we like to go even further and say, whatever benefit came from this, I also want that to contribute to the world. I want others to receive benefit from it, not just myself. We go beyond that separateness and tune into the interdependence, the mutual benefit. So you can repeat after me or use whatever words you'd like. May the practice I have just done be of benefit to others as well as myself. And if you're feeling particularly generous, you can think, may the practice I have just done be of even more benefit to others than to myself. So that concludes our session of mindfulness and compassion practice. Now, I paused there for the recording, and I'm going to invite you all to unmute yourself. So you can do that, I believe, now. And the first thing I wanted to do was to, for the people who didn't see it last time, this particular little meditation in action that I like to do, that's very helpful while you're waiting for something. And you can teach this to your kids when they're feeling impatient. And it's like a game. So you start with your right hand facing you, your palm facing you, and take your index finger pointing away from you and start at the base, at the wrist, the outside of your right wrist. And as you breathe in, trace up along the outside of your pinky. Breathe out, go down the inside. Pause, breathe in, the outside of your ring finger. Pause, breathe out, the inside of your ring finger. In, up the middle finger, out, down. In, index finger, out, down. In the side of your thumb, out the outside of your thumb, down to the base of your wrist again. And then you go in the other direction, up, starting with your thumb and back around, and then switch hands. And so you'll get a total of 20 breaths. And for your kids, if they can just do one hand, that's pretty cool. And it'll remind them of the exercise of drawing a turkey, where you trace your hand around and make that the head of the turkey and that the feathers. So kids, it's a great way to get them to just start mindfulness. Kids at whatever age. Teenagers like us who get very impatient, I've taught a number of them, and they go, wow, this is just great. It actually feels way better than I thought it would feel. And I forget my impatience. So if you're waiting for someone, whenever people are getting ready to go somewhere together, one person is always a little slower than the other, inevitably. So whoever's waiting, it's a great practice to do. So I wanted to share that, and then open the floor up. If anybody has a comment or question, we can talk for another 10 minutes or so.
I have a question.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi. So in the meditation, you said that in the tradition, there is multiple types of meditation. And is that a particular part of the Buddhist tradition?
Not so much multiple types, because we're kind of doing a sequence, which people do, but in the particular Tibetan Buddhist tradition that I'm part of, called Mahamudra, they say it's good to do many short sessions rather than try to one really.
Okay.
So taking little breaks, which doesn't, in fact, you don't even have to move.
Right.
You just go, drop it, drop the whole thing, rest in space,
Many short sessions.
and then start again, and then start again. Now the sequence I gave is traditional in that you start with mindfulness of body, then you go with mindfulness of breathing, then mindfulness of mind, and then mindfulness of space.
Oh, okay.
So that you expand out in that way. You start close in, but ultimately you expand out. And the particularly interesting thing, I think, is that to regard thoughts as sensations or objects of perception. So we have physical sensations, we have visual, auditory, taste, smell, as the five senses, but we also have the mental sense of perceiving our own thoughts. So if we regard our thoughts as an appearance in the mind, rather than I'm thinking this, then we get some leverage over them. Because otherwise we believe if I'm thinking it, that must be me. But this way we have thoughts, but we are not our thoughts. And one of my teachers, this is from, oh my gosh, it's 40 years ago now. It was the early 80s, and people were just starting to quit smoking. They'd kind of caught on. It wasn't such a good idea. And he'd been smoking and he decided to quit. but a number of his students were still smoking. And there was a meeting that I was in, and one person lit up a cigarette. And if in the culture of smoking, if one person lights up a cigarette, it triggers the craving in everybody else. Soon everybody's smoking. And the room is filling with smoke. And I realized that he had intended, he was quitting smoking. And I said, "Sir, excuse me, would you rather we didn't smoke?" And he said, "No, it's okay." I was surprised. I said, "Well, doesn't it bother you?" And he said, "No, not particularly." Again, even more surprised. I said, "But doesn't it make you want a cigarette?" And he said, "Yes, but I don't take it personally."
Wow.
Wow. So not only a thought appearing in the mind, but a craving appearing in the mind, which we say, well, that's in my body, so that must be real. But instead saying, oh, it's just a craving that's appearing. That's interesting. And it gives you space. And I include this in my diet book, that you have that space for the craving and say, am I really hungry? Or does the idea of French fries really appeal to me right now? Am I really hungry, or am I, actually, maybe I'm thirsty and I'm not actually that hungry? So we can take any kind of physical and emotional experience and any kind of intellectual thought and make it an appearance in our mind, so we identify with the mind. Right? If you look behind me, you identify with the sky. Well, the moon is appearing in the sky, but it's not the sky. The clouds are appearing against the sky, but they're not the sky. Our thoughts and feelings are appearing against the sky of our mind, but they're not our mind. So I think that's I wanted to share that again with everybody. And of course, I know I see a few golf students of mine on here. And so if you have the thought, boy, I hope I don't hit it out of bounds, just recognize, oh, that's just a thought. I don't have to believe that. And shift your focus. So any other questions, particularly about the meditations? Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that for some reason I was really able to get into a mindful groove today during our sessions. I don't know why. I could speculate, I guess, but yeah, I just really got into a really good mindful groove today. Well, it really worked. The practice really worked well today, because sometimes it's a practice, and it varies. Sometimes it doesn't work as well as others. Today it worked really well for me.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. The idea that it works well, it may have been working well on the other ones. It was easier today, and you felt more connected. Yes. But sometimes when there's a little bit of a grind, it might have a different kind of benefit. So one of my teachers said, one of the things about the practice, when it feels like it's really going well, don't get too excited. When it feels like it's not going well, don't get too depressed. But understand that there are different textures and different parts of the practice. That is not to say that it's not really good when you can tune in. We just don't want you to get attached to it and then feel frustrated next time when it doesn't feel quite so good. And the other thing, rather than speculating why, you can say, well, what did I do leading into this session that might have been different? And really reflect on that. And when I was in the session, was it more, maybe it was more helpful to have those little gaps between the periods with the fresh start. And so when you are practicing on your own, saying, you know what, I'm going to do that. I'm going to just, do a short period and then just drop it and take a fresh start. Again, I'm speculating, but I'm not really speculating, I'm giving examples. We can only know when we tune in and say, yes, that was a little different. Now, I'm not going to assume that's true, but I'm going to explore it for next time. What we don't want to do is try to manipulate and try to get to that place. Because trying to get to the place will almost ensure that you won't.
Right.
It's like saying, now next time try to relax. That is an oxymoron. That is a paradox. You can't try to relax. You can do yourself best to let yourself be in that state. So we got to be aware of instruction versus, versus state of being. By breathing and tuning into that, then the relaxation that's waiting to be there happens. We usually think that what we want to feel like is not there and we have to get it. This perspective is a complete flip of that. Who we are and what we want to feel like and how we want to be is all already there, has always been there, and will always be there. We just get in our own way and overlay it with more and more and more stuff. And I call that, we put more and more and more on. And then that's the moron approach. We put more and more on to what's already there, thinking we're going to make it better. We're going to make it better. We need to put less on. Less is more.
That is a good one.
I'm glad you like that, Suzanne. Well, thank you, everybody. I may switch the days again next month. We're experimenting with days of the week. We used to do. Yes?
Oh, Dr. Joe.
Hi, Rocco.
Hi. I was curious what guitar Mike B has in his background.
What did you say?
The Mike B, the guitar in your background?
Oh, Mike's guitar.
Yeah, and I don't know why my last name doesn't show up. Someone set Zoom up for me a couple of years ago, and I have no technology, no technological knowledge. That guitar, Rocco, is a Martin. It's a CF Martin.
Oh, that's a beautiful guitar.
Thank you. Yeah.
Someday you're going to play for us, right?
Yeah, well, that sounds like a good idea. And
I have several.
I don't want to keep anybody else too long.
Okay.
I'm going to leave this open for you guys to chat in a second. I just want to wrap up by saying, keep your eyes on the emails of what day of the week we're going to do in April, and we will keep you all posted. If you're on this call and you haven't signed up for the weekly or occasional emails that I send out, please just go. You can go to either drjoeparent.com or Zen Golf to sign up for that. Okay, great. Now,
thank you.
You're welcome, Rocco and Mike.
Joe.
I'll leave you. You guys can chat. Alan, it's nice to see you too. Where are you?
I'm in New York.
Oh, you're back up there.
Back in New York. We're in Florida for a while, and
That's great.
Getting ready for golf season.
I'm going to get in touch and let you know if I'm coming to the East Coast.
Sure, we'd love to have you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It was good practice.
Hi, Birgit. Nice to see you.
Hi, good to see you.
Were you on Monday night?
Yes.
That's good. Yeah, that was a pretty good one, I thought. We really connected with we did a lot with the Ukraine situation, and it's just so painful. Imagine if we could take away Putin's ignorance and confusion and pride and greed and hatred and all the negative emotions and make him a Buddha. right? That's the weird thing. You want those people, it's better if they were enlightened,
Right.
right? If he were enlightened and suddenly saw, like, had a moment of, and woke up and said, what am I doing? Stop it. Everything would stop.
That's one thing I've kept thinking, that if somebody could bring home to him that he could go down in history as the one tyrant who turned around.
That would have to overcome a pretty heavy ignorance and confusion, but
Yes.
if it could happen, we all wish it could happen. Yeah, that would be amazing. Interesting. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Next time.
Bye-bye.
Be well.